Check. What's up, guys? Clavette here. I've got a new episode of Clavette's Corner for you because I've got a new record out. We're going to be talking about Work It Out. It's my new record out on Deep Root. It's doing really well right now. I'm really happy with the response, and I want to show you guys how I made it. So, as always, we're going to begin with the drums. Why waste any more time? Let's jump into Ableton and take a look. All right, we're inside Ableton now, and I'm gonna go through the drums. I kind of wanted to focus in on more of the creative choices instead of some of the more mixing that I've done in the past. You guys have requested that, and I'm listening. So Work It Out. So here's the clap. And it's got really 3 layers. So this main layer, which is a lot of the body of the clap. Kind of this pre-shifted organic sounding clap. And then this kind of high frequency metallic. It sounds like there's almost like a tambourine layered in on that sample. So let's start here. There's just a little bit of EQ, and I'll show you what that's kind of doing. So that is mostly removing a lot of the low end to really make room for my kick and my bass and all my other low end percussion. Then we have this sample, and I'll show you again. Again, just like making sure that that low end is cleaned up. And as you can hear, there is a lot of low end there. And when you combine that with the top one, the kind of main clap, it just allows them to sit much better. We've got some additional sounds, some other claps, a fill, kind of an 808 style clap sound, and then another kind of more spaced out clap with some delay, and I'll kind of play you everything that's going on here because there's quite a few things. That's by itself. A little bit of saturation, cleaning it up with some EQ. And then Echo Boy. It's on an 8th note with a lot of feedback. And then the other thing I did here was I really pulled down the width. So if you hear, this is at its default. That's really wide. I wanted this a little more, narrow. And then finally on top of this all is just the CLA 2A, just controlling a little bit more. Quite a bit. It's almost 5 dB. So that's to really keep it in the pocket. I didn't want it popping out. I kind of wanted more felt than punchy and anything else like that. We've got some drum fills. These kind of help progress the track along. We've got some sort of impact drum. This is probably my favorite drum in the whole thing, with a lot of delay and verb and a little bit of EQ, not too much. All these fills help keep the groove going. All right, let's go to the hats. So again, we've got really layered hat sound. We've got so quite harsh, hence the crazy EQ, which really kind of helped tame the sound. Then we've got again, that EQ is really helping to clean up that sound. Again, another kind of shaker, more high-end focused hat sound. This is probably the main sound, and the way I always know that is if I take that sound out a good portion of that sound kind of collapses. So that's why I consider that the main hat. So if I take all these off and show you what's going on, there's the sound by itself. Decapitator. EQ to clean it up. A little bit of transient master. If this was today, I probably would have pushed this a little harder because I think that in the mix it was a little bit, it wasn't as punchy. So that it would have been my revision today. Top loop. A lot of EQ to help that sit in the mix with these hats better. And then we've got this last top. Again, just carving out some space with EQ to help those other hats fit. There's a little bit more EQ on the whole group. Let's take off these and then we've got the mag EQ. All I'm doing here is adding a little bit of air. There's a ride in here, probably a 909. Too much going on there. Cleaning it up, grabbing those resonant peaks. Adding back a little bit of dirt with Decapitator. And then what I love to do is I love side chaining these rides. I just think it gives it such a nice pumping feeling. Just really adds some nice groove. And then I've got auto pan. And I've got some crashes. I probably would have cut off a little more of that low end. There's just a lot in there that I don't think you need. That's really all you need. Instead of using the auto pan like I did on the ride, I elected to do some automation on this utility. Why I did that beats me. And then we've got our percussion, and there's quite a bit of it, and we'll kind of do one thing at a time here. So I've got this lead perk, which is kind of like a cowbell. And again, a lot of low end that is I'm cutting out. We've got one shaker. One thing you'll notice is that this is emphasizing the offbeat, typically, as you would emphasize that offbeat open hat in the groove. This is doing the same thing, and I've just kind of programmed the MIDI to reflect that. And there's a little bit of difference on this second pattern so that you're constantly hearing change. It's very subtle, but I think it really helps. Then I duplicated that. These are the exact same settings on here, and I just used a different sample. And then I've got one more shaker. No processing on here, just adding a little bit more groove, emphasizing that offbeat. Almost done. We've got a tambourine. And it looks like I've got two different LFO tools on here. Let's see why I did that. Okay, very chugging along kind of groove. Not sure why I did that, but I guess it got the sound I was looking for, the groove I was looking for. This is a kind of ambient percussion track. This is so low down in the mix, you really don't even hear it, but I think it's one of those things where once you kind of get to the end of the mixing stage, the mastering stage, this comes up quite a bit, and it has this really nice texture to your drum track. So here is the first bongo. So this is really just getting rid of a lot of top end and really trying to control that low end so that it's a little more even. And then using Decapitator to add a little more grit and dirt. Same kind of deal, cutting off a lot of top end. So on this one, I'm using the Decapitator to kind of control some of the dynamics a little more. I'm really driving it. You can hear how it's controlling that. So again, if you listen to the percussion, you kind of have your top end elements, the shakers, the tambourines, and then I use my low end part of the percussion to create some sort of melody. And that's the low end bongos. And that's pretty much the whole drum track. If we go into the drum bus here, there's a couple things going on. We've got a Decapitator, so let's hear what that sounds like with and without. Adding a little bit of brightness and then shaving off a little bit of that brightness so that it's not too much, but it's definitely emphasizing that top end of the percussion and the cymbals a little more. Using an EQ to cut out any unnecessary low end again. A lot of times, if you use saturators, especially analog emulated saturators or distortion units, it's going to add in some low end noise. I like to keep it clean and get rid of that. You don't have to. Just my personal preference. Got the API 2500 smacking the drums a little bit more. I love this compressor, and you probably see this almost on every one of my tracks because it really just smacks the hell out of the drums. So if you're lacking some punch like my drums did before I added this, try throwing the API 2500 on top of there. And that's about it, guys. So those are the drums. So thanks for stopping by at Clavette's Corner. Next week, we're going to go through the kick and the bass. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week. Cheers.